So when you hear the phrase game theory, what comes to mind? Probably a lot of math, right? Cold, hard strategy. But we're going to look at it a little differently today. We're going to treat it like a story. A story about this absolutely beautiful idea and the truly enigmatic mind behind it, John Nash.
And our story kicks off in a pretty unexpected place, the Princeton University cafeteria, back in 1980. The economist Ariel Rubinstein is a student there, and somebody points out this figure. And it's not some celebrated genius holding court. It's a solitary man, almost like a ghost, just completely wrapped up in his own world.
You see, for young economists like Rubinstein, the name Nash wasn't a person. It was just a word attached to this massively important concept they all had to learn, the Nash equilibrium. It was totally abstract theory. It had nothing to do with this living, breathing, but clearly deeply troubled man he was seeing right there in the cafeteria.
Okay, so let's shift gears from the man for a second and talk about his beautiful idea. What is game theory really, and why does it captivate so many people?
Well, first off, the name itself is just brilliant, isn't it? Game theory. It sounds fun. It sounds approachable. And as Rubinstein points out, that was basically a PR masterstroke. Can you imagine if it was called a collection of models of rational decision-making in interactive situations? Yeah, I don't think so.
So, what even makes something a game instead of just a simple decision? Let's use an easy example. Deciding to take an umbrella. That's a simple decision, right? It depends on the weather, something you can't control. But what if your choice depended on what someone else was going to do? Like you're trying to coordinate with a friend, or you're trying to outsmart a rain god who you think is messing with you. Suddenly you have to anticipate another player's move. That is a game.
And this gets us to the absolute heart of game theory, strategic thinking. It's all about putting yourself in the other person's shoes. But, and this is a really important point, it's not about empathy. You're not trying to feel what they feel. You're trying to coldly calculate what they're going to do so you can figure out your own best move. It's a purely logical exercise.
The problem is this whole I think that he thinks that I think thing can go on forever, right? It's an endless loop. And this is where John Nash's genius just shines. The Nash equilibrium is the elegant, theoretical stopping point. It's that stable state where everyone in the game has made their best possible choice, considering what everyone else has chosen. At that point, nobody has a reason to change their mind on their own. So we have this perfect, beautiful, logical theory. It's elegant. But what happens when this perfect logic smacks right into the messy, unpredictable reality of actual human beings? To put this to the test, we're going to walk through a really famous thought experiment. It's called the Traveler's Dilemma. And it is the perfect way to see the huge gap between how a rational model says we should behave and, well, how we actually do.
Okay, listen up. Here are the rules. An airline loses your souvenir and another traveler's souvenir. They're identical. To compensate you, the airline asks both of you to secretly write down a value for it, anywhere between $180 and $300. Now here's the catch. The airline is going to pay both of you whatever the lower number is. And there's one more twist. Whoever wrote that lower number gets a $5 bonus, and the person who wrote the higher number gets a $5 penalty.
All right, so you're one of the travelers. What number are you writing down? Take a second. What's your gut tell you?
Now let's walk through this with that cold game theory logic. Your first instinct is probably to write $300, right? Maximize the payout. But wait, if the other person also writes $300, you both get $300. But if you write $299, you'd get $304. So $299 is better. But if your opponent is also rational, they know that too. So they're probably not picking $300 either. So maybe you should pick $298. You see how this logic starts to unravel, pushing the number lower and lower and lower. If you follow that chain of pure logic all the way down to its final conclusion, you get a really stark answer. The one and only Nash equilibrium, the only perfectly stable rational choice, is for both of you to declare the absolute minimum, $180.
So that's the cold, hard, logical answer from the theory. But what happens when you actually get real people to play this game? Do they do the rational thing?
And the results are just wow. This is data from over 13,000 people. The so-called rational choice, 180, is way down here. And what's the most popular choice by a landslide? The supposedly irrational one,
$300. I mean, that is just a massive disconnect between the theory and what real people actually do. So what does this tell us? The big takeaway is that not only is the purely rational choice unpopular, it's actually a terrible strategy in the real world. If you're playing against a normal person and you pick 180, you're probably going to walk away with a lot less money. It just goes to show that these purely logical models, as beautiful as they are, often just don't capture the messiness of human intuition.
And this brings us full circle, right back to John Nash. If his incredible theory doesn't perfectly predict what we do, then what's its real value? What's the ultimate legacy of his beautiful mind?
I mean, to really get it, you have to appreciate his journey. Nash published these game-changing ideas in the 1950s, but then for decades he was lost to paranoid schizophrenia. He became that ghost on the Princeton campus. And then, in this almost unbelievable comeback story, he re-emerged from his illness to accept the Nobel Prize in 1994.
So why did he get the Nobel Prize if the theory doesn't always predict reality? Well, Rubinstein argues that we've been looking at it all wrong. The point of game theory isn't to be a crystal ball. It's not supposed to tell you exactly what people will do or give you the secret to winning. Its real job is to investigate the pure underlying logic of strategic thinking itself.
So think of it less like a GPS that gives you the exact answer, and more like a perfectly crafted lens. It gives us this clear, elegant language and a powerful framework to just analyze strategic situations. It helps us structure our thoughts, even if it doesn't hand us the final winning move.
What's truly fascinating, though, is that Nash himself seemed to understand the limits of pure logic. When he reflected on recovering from his illness, he said that returning to rational thought imposes a limit. It's like he was saying that in gaining back his scientific mind, he lost something bigger, something more dreamlike and expansive. I mean, what a profound and kind of sad thought from the man who gave us one of rationality's most powerful tools.
And honestly, that's the perfect place to end. Maybe the ultimate value of game theory isn't about being useful for winning a game. Maybe its real worth is in its intellectual beauty, the same kind of beauty you find in philosophy or pure math or a great piece of literature. It's a creation that doesn't just tell us how to act, but helps us understand the very structure of how we think.